So it's been a while, but today I'm going to be talking to you guys about Shadowburn, one of the best Genjis in the game, telling you guys some tips and maybe what you can do to improve yourself to win a few more games as this character. Now, of course, Shadowburn is probably one of my favorite players in this game, and again, I'm just going to be talking about the main cool things that I see him doing. And I guess we should start off right here. One of the things that I really like that Shadowburn does is actually scouts with his double jump. I see a lot of people not really doing this and not really calling this out, but right there we saw he jumped up there, saw where the turrets were at, told his teammates, and kind of just went in from there. As well, another thing that I feel like is very important that we saw right there is that he actually got behind the enemy anchor tank. Often if the anchor tank is off to the side, not really next to any teammates or anything like that, you can get behind them and get a lot of free damage on them. As well as somebody tries to help them, well, you're in a 1v2 situation, but you can often slipperily just get out of there and save yourself. And of course, get a lot of attention off your teammates and they might be able to go in. Yeah, it's pretty nice. It's something you can try to do, and right there we saw it work out really, really well for him. So, there we go. As well, another thing that I want to mention that we've been seeing a lot so far, even just this early into the game, is that whenever Shadowburn feels like he's in a bad situation, or feels like, you know, he probably can't take that, he backs off. We don't see him really overextend way too much, and we see him generally just trying to stay above the enemies, get good height advantage, but again, try to back off and not just go for really dumb, overextended plays. Of course, you sometimes might have to do those when your games are, you know, running really close and you don't know if you can happen to take it out. But if your teammates are already winning the point or doing half decently on the point, just getting the picks that you know you can get quite easily is probably what you should try to go for. Something else that we also see this guy do a lot is getting height advantage of the enemy. Of course, getting actual height advantage and standing on a platform above people, that's very useful. He does that a lot. But as well, if he can't happen to get over a platform or something, he often will just jump over the enemy's heads. And this is really important because it's much easier for you as Genji to jump over the enemies, shoot down at them, and have a much higher chance to get a headshot than the enemies trying to get a headshot on you while you're above them. And as well, since it's a weird FPS game, looking above yourself is really kind of awkward, hard to do. And overall, as Genji, you just have a lot more control looking down above them than they do from below you, I guess, and trying to shoot you. So you should probably try to keep that into your gameplay, and yeah, we saw him doing that like every single time he tried to attack someone. Now, something different that I feel like is very important is looking at his right and left click usage. Most of the time, of course, at far range he uses left click, close range he uses right click. Any freaking dingus could figure that out. However, as far as trying to go for headshots, for the most part, when he's using his right click, he goes for body shots instead of headshots. While when using his left click, he goes for headshots instead of body shots. Probably because against really anybody except for maybe D.Va, your right click is going to maybe hit one or two of them, but then probably miss the last one, and it's going to be very hard to get all those right click headshots. So it's often better to just get all your body shots in. You'll probably get a lot more damage overall. So that's something you might want to remember and try to look at. As far as people with medium to small size hitbox, most of the DPS players, or I guess characters, he just tries to body shot with his right click. Right there we saw something great that I want to mention as well. We saw the Zarya ult, but we didn't see Shadowburn waste his ult immediately. He knew that his team was probably going to finish them off. The enemies already had 2 down. It was a pretty easy to kill right there. And he already got the soldier without having to ult, so he didn't really need to. He saved it, and then he used it a little bit later. Of course, his team lost that team fight in the end, but they got a lot of time on the point as well. He really just could save that, and you should really be looking into your own Genji. Just because you have a combo available doesn't mean you should immediately use it, especially if you have other combos also available. Maybe you should wait to use your ult to pick people off at after the end, or do anything like that. There's a lot of other situations where you might want to wait. So yeah, it's just something to think about. Right there, of course, we were camping the Sombra E, so that worked out pretty well, and whatever. Now, something that we also saw a few times, and this was, I guess, a little while ago, is that most of the time when his teammates are far behind him, and when he's just kind of waiting for people on his own team, he'll wait around corners and just try to finish off the enemies. He won't actually jump in there, jump face first, try to get a kill, when the whole enemy backline's still up alive. No, he actually waits back there, and it makes sense, but most people do just try to go for solo kills, and they often die. He waits, tries to get picks that way, and goes on like there, which is kind of nice. As well with that, he doesn't always go in on the first person that he sees. I see a lot of Genjis doing that. They just instantly go on the first person they see, no matter who it is. You should probably actually try to focus on the supports, focus on the DPS, whatever. And yeah, just don't be dumb. I see a lot of people just being dumb. Right here though, we see him really quickly finish this off. Really great point. Of course, if you can't happen to hit that Lucio, just go for melees as we saw right there. I mean, he could have killed the Lucio faster with left click headshots, but you can't always hit all of those. So of course, melee does work pretty well too. And I guess the final thing I want to say about his offense before we get to defense is that if he goes in with his shift, but he doesn't get a kill, he'll normally just go out. Try to play it safe and not die. instead of just overextending and trying to get that kill so you can get the reset on your shift. If you can't get it, then just don't play dumb and don't give off your life just for the chance of getting an extra kill. Now we're off to defense though. Plays a little bit differently, and his defense is a lot different than most Genjis I see. For a lot of Genjis, I see them overextending a lot, trying to get, trying to like 1v1 people in the front line. It doesn't work way too well. He plays kind of weird. He actually goes behind the enemy team a lot, or he tries to flank them a lot. He doesn't really fight with his team way too often. He like fights to the side of his team. When his teams are engaging, of course, he goes in, but he doesn't just... I don't know, he doesn't really go for as many picks. He just plays kind of weird, and I guess you're going to have to kind of see that right here. But as we see right here, right now he's trying to poke the enemies, he's behind them, he's getting free damage. And this is a little bit risky. Of course, if the enemies did all turn around right here, they could probably kill him, which they do eventually do. So maybe he should have left a second earlier. So you can see how that's kind of risky. But I guess if you can't happen to get out of that, you can get a lot of ult charge, get a lot of damage out. But unfortunately for him, it didn't work out way too greatly. Luckily though, his teammates did pull it off, so it wasn't way too bad. But yeah, there you go with that. As well with that, a thing I want to say about him on defense, it's a little bit different than offense, is that he knows that defense is a lot more risky. With Genji, a lot just kind of hard of a pick to pull off. So often he won't go for way too many 1v1s without support healing him up, or without a support giving him a bit of extra damage to back him up, or anything like that. He'll often just kind of wait for a lot of his supports to help him out, which is something you might want to actually try to do. Especially the lower elo you get, and if you don't have way too much mechanics as Genji, you might want to wait for your supports on defense. On offense, you can often, get a kill or not get a kill, and it doesn't really matter way too much because you can wait for the next push. But on defense, if you die, you're kind of screwing your team over. So it's an important thing that you should probably learn how to do and wait for. As we see right here, of course, the Lucio's around him, and beforehand, there was the Zenyatta around him. Made quite a bit of sense like that. As well, he doesn't really seem to waste his E as much on defense. Of course, he could just press it all the time or whatever. But often he waits until he's next to his teammates, tries to block a huge chunk of damage at the same time, and going like that. Alright, there, of course, we saw a great pick on that soldier, just jump straight behind them. Pretty nice as far as that goes. Unfortunately, he doesn't get the reset on his shift, but whatever, his team finishes it off anyways, and it's not way too bad. As we saw with that fight, though, he wasn't really with his team the whole time, or at least at the beginning, and kind of after he got his first pick or second pick, he grouped up with them more. Often he'll be around the side, flanking. Right here again, he's trying to go behind them, get a bit of damage, maybe get a pick. The enemy team are jumping in really quickly right now, and are playing a little bit weird and a bit offensive, so he probably can get around the back right now, can try to get a kill. Of course, if he does get a kill, he can shift out pretty safely. But often when you are behind the enemies trying to get a kill like this, you probably should save your shift so that you can disengage safely. Right now, he's kind of focusing on that Roadhog, which is, I think, a little bit weird. But of course, if you do want to just get your ult charge, if you do want to just get a bit of damage out, it makes a lot of sense. Gets behind the soldier again, which is probably the person you want to target in this team fight, because of course he's doing a ton of damage off to the side. They do have 2 hit scans as well, which is kind of nice for you to fight as Genji. When the enemies do have a lot of hit scans, though, you do again want to be next to your supports, kind of. Or you want to hide around walls, or you want to just make sure that you're not in a place where they can outspam you from range, because a lot of Genji just try to outpoke the hit scans. That won't really work for you. As far as the enemy team comp right now, he could prioritize the supports. Against this team comp, though, it's kind of awkward. Against Zenyatta, I'd say you always want to do that, and of course against Mercy as well. But against the team comp we're facing right now, it's really hard to kill the Ana, and it's really hard to kill the Lucio, I guess depending on how good they are. But if they are very good, it would be hard to kill those guys by yourself, so you might want to focus on the McCree, who's not way too hard to take down. Or as well, the Soldier, who, if he misses his rocket, you can most likely beat him in a 1v1. So that's kind of what he's doing. The characters he's mainly focusing on. Of course, you do have to focus on, just what team comp your verse is, as far as who you want to try to kill first. It's not always just focus the supports or focus the DPS. It's, depending on who the enemies have. So there you go with that. And he's kind of prioritizing the supports in this team fight, and of course in this game alone. As well with this, the later on we get into this, the less picks he's really going for. He's going for a lot of poke in the back line, but he's not really jumping down and trying to kill himself as much as he was earlier on, because he knows, the game is really close to being done. I want to play this as safely as possible, and right now, just getting a bit of poke in the back line, doing as much as he can. Whatever. He just finished it off, though, jumping around, getting to the back line. His teammates got, again, quite a few nice picks. But as we saw, Shadowburn wasn't simply just waiting in his back line, waiting the whole game to try to get kills. He was trying to be very proactive, trying to flank around, get a lot of damage, and he did, in the end, get a lot of damage and a lot of kills, while still being relatively safe and not dying way too many times. So If you can try to pull that into your own game, it's something that you probably want to try to do. One final thing that I saw him doing, which I feel like was pretty important to try to focus on, is that when he was ulting, he kept swinging, he kept hitting whoever was close by. But as you see right here, he'd hit the people close by, but he'd still try to focus on the people that were more important. So he'd hit the people close by and then try to walk towards maybe the supports or the DPS or something like that. So, you'd be hitting the Roadhog, but moving towards people that aren't the Roadhog, which is, a thing that you probably should be doing. You shouldn't just 100% prioritize one person and not hit anyone else. That's probably just going to get you killed in a lot of cases and make sure you don't do way too much damage. But if you follow what he did, of course, it works out pretty well. Anyways, as always, guys, those are all the tips I have for this video itself. I feel like Shadowburn is really good, and there's a lot to be learned from him. And overall, he plays quite safely and is very, very consistent as far as Genji goes. Maybe he doesn't get as many really amazing pop-off-your-pants plays, but still, there's a lot of really cool stuff that he does go for. And again, I feel like he's my favorite consistent Genji that I do see, and there's always a lot of really nice stuff to be learned from him. Anyways, as always, guys, thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, make sure to leave a like. Comment down below what character you'd like to see in the next video, as I'll try to get them out ASAP. And press subscribe if you want to see any more videos like this in the future. I know I haven't done one of these for a long time, but I feel like they're very fun to make. They're very just quick to make. And I feel like you can learn the most out of these as they're very character specific. And you can learn stuff really just from what the pros are doing themselves in their own game, instead of just general game knowledge. Anyways, as always, guys, thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed. And as always, have a wonderful day.